Good evening, everyone. I just want to welcome you guys all to Kappa Psi event featuring Brandon Steiner. As you probably all know by now, since you're all here, Brandon is the founder and chairman of Steiner Sports. He'll tell you more about what exactly he does, but I just wanted to do a little introduction of him. We're very thankful for him coming all the way down here from New York to be with us tonight. And so let's save your questions until afterwards. It's going to be very interactive, but let's do the questions afterwards. All right, without further ado, Brandon Steiner.
You know, I always think of myself as an entrepreneur, and from an entrepreneur, there's a few different types of people. The people that get to the edge of the cliff and examine, try to see how they're going to land. But a true entrepreneur goes to the edge of the cliff, jumps, and then figures out how he's going to land on the way down. And that's kind of how I always approach everything. Kind of fearlessness, fearless, never afraid. And unfortunately, in the world of entrepreneurs, not everything always adds up. Not everything's always clear. So if you're that kind of person that needs things to be clear, there's nothing wrong with that. I actually married a woman like that, where there's more of an exact, more of an order to things. But it's okay. It's just probably the world of entrepreneurs and isn't for you. Today, we're going to talk about a few things. Let's think about the plan right here, conversation that I want to have. Well, first thing I want to talk to you about was the difference between 99% and 100%. 211 degrees. We'll talk a little bit about that. I want to talk to you about change. Change is so complicated these days. Just talking to some friends of mine here about this. And change is really important for all of you to understand. Even though you're right in the middle of it all, I'm sure you're all texting and right online and you got everything going, but you need to understand where things came from and where things are. Because no matter what business you get in, it's really important to understand how different industries are affected and how you can communicate with different people and how all the things that are around you not only are different, well, I should say not only are they changing it different, but they're changing at a rapid pace. That's the scary thing. I'm sure your parents tell you, when I was a kid, I'm telling my kids, when I was a kid, their parents were telling them when they were a kid, and it goes on and on. And you'll be telling your parents, when I was a kid, I went to Vanderbilt, and I went to school with $7,500. Now it's like $50 grand. When your kids go to school, it'll be like probably $100 grand. And everything's changing. The difference is it's happening so rapidly, you don't have time to go figure it out. You don't have time to pick up a magazine and hope you can get it. And before you know it, it's passed you by and it's gone. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about size. The size doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. We'll talk about that. Got a fun story around that. And then also we'll talk about building a fan base. And also we'll talk about, we're going to go in a lot of directions today. It's going to be a fun conversation. We'll also talk about the first 90 seconds in your day, how important those are. We'll have some time at the end. We'll definitely take some questions. And, just real quickly on myself, I'm a big community guy. I know Allison and I coach the brothers in Little League and everything else. So, when people in my community come and call, and I always want to make sure that I'm there. And it's a pleasure to come down. I love it. It's a really nice school. I love this campus. And I'm sure you're not all thinking every day when you wake up like, wow, how unbelievable is that I get to go to this school. But it is a pretty nice school. I get to go to a lot of schools. And this is really nice. It's a real privilege to be here. I can just get a sense it's a special place. And from all the people I've met that either go to the school or graduated, you're in good company. It's a good place. And it puts out really good people into the world. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Steiner Sports, I started in 1987. When I was in school, I was like the odd kid, entrepreneurial, and I was like all over the place doing a million things. There was no stopping me. I was promotions, doing this, doing that. I had really not that much interest. I wasn't a really great student. I did my best I could, but I always kind of loved sports. In 1987, I started Steiner. In 1995, I started, which was basically a company that marketed athletes, did all promotions, marketing. And really what I kind of found in that company was representing players really wasn't that much fun. I didn't love it. So what I did is I represented the companies, and I found athletes for those companies having all those relations with the players, and that worked out pretty well for me. That was 1992. I was doing about 3,000 appearances a year. I had like a high school intern helping me, maybe 1 or 2 employees. 1994, came up with this idea about doing these collectibles. It kind of started with the whole marketing of the athlete business, and it kind of exploded on me because every time I do an athlete appearance, I would bring all this stuff. You know, some people call it shit. I call it stuff. Bring your shit. I'm like, no, brought these footballs up, and I always had an eye for the authentic stuff. So as a kid, I always wanted that stuff. It's really important. So anyway, I started at $10,000. $4,000 I started, and trust me, at $4,000 when I started, that was a lot of money. For a Mac Plus, which you can't even imagine. I mean, I'm dating myself now because most people weren't born, but a Mac Plus was, well, we're going to actually see what a Mac Plus is in a minute. But it ain't going to get you much. You know, that and the printer was $3,200. And then, you know, my wife would bring me some office supplies once in a while from Ernst & Young. Couldn't even afford those. But in 1995, you know, I was doing okay. I was barely making a living. My wife was really supporting us. I was kind of hanging in, and I had $10,000. I just remember, I was like, I think I got a feeling I want to like buy a bunch of stuff and have it in this closet. And you know, when people do these appearances, I can actually have some of this stuff ready. So I took $10,000 and I started Steiner memorabilia. And I signed up, I'm very fortunate, I signed Phil Rizzuto for complete marketing. Anybody remember Phil Rizzuto? I'm dating myself a little too because that would have to be a little bit when you're younger, but he was like a Hall of Famer, a big Yankee. And Mark Messier won the cup, one of my favorite players. He was my first collectible deal started. So that's kind of everything exploded. 2000, and I'll roll forward. In 2000, I sold my company to Omnicom, which is a small little company in New York that owned about 650 companies, about 13 billion. How the hell they bought me, I don't know. Why they bought me, I don't know. It was competitive. There was a lot of mergers and acquisitions going on, and had a sexy company. And I made a great sale that day. I made about 3 great sales in my life. Probably that day I got Phil Rizzuto to sign. Boy, it was a huge break for me. Talked to my wife in the marriage, made a huge sale that day. Big sale, I tell you. It took me, I had to go back twice for that one, but you know, persistence sometimes does pay off. And the Omnicom thing was a big deal. And then, you know, getting the Yankees to sign up with me was a big deal. I mean, to get the Yankee name and Steiner name in one word was kind of cool. I told them I would do that for them. I was okay with them putting their name next to mine. They were okay with it after 2 years of negotiating. And I think like my best quest was Notre Dame Steiner. You know, Jewish kid from Brooklyn. I mean, I had Yankee Steiner. And my whole thing is what's next, what else, and first to market. So, you know, you want to talk about true entrepreneurism. It's what else, what's next, and get first to market. I'm not interested if I'm not there first. It doesn't even interest me. I want to be there first. I want to have thought of it. I don't want to be ahead of the curve. So as soon as I get the Yankee thing done, and it was a long process, and certainly I'm there first, probably one of the biggest deals in my industry, and the only company that the Yankees have ever partnered up to put their name next to. Very proud of that deal, but I said, gotta get Notre Dame. God, it's the biggest school. I mean, you know, what's bigger than Notre Dame? Although, you know, no, they've had their ups and downs. What's interesting is I go to the only Irish guy in the company, so, you know, I can't go over there. So I call, you know, I get Pete Kelly over to my office and say, you know, go call Notre Dame, see if you can get us a meeting. So a couple weeks later, he's like, I got us the meeting. You're not going to believe it, I got us the meeting. So I don't even know where the hell Notre Dame was. You know, I don't know how we're going to get there. So fly to Chicago, get on a puddle jumper, we're in Notre Dame. I get there probably about 9:30 in the morning. Next thing I know, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We haven't had the meeting. I go to Kelly, I say, are you sure we got this meeting? No, the guy's busy, something came up, an emergency. I got to get this deal. So at about 5 o'clock, we know we only had a little bit of time so we could get back. So we got a half hour with the guy. And my goal, and it's interesting, like tonight I got an hour and change with you. I figured I'm going to talk for about an hour. We'll do 15, 20 minutes of Q&A. And you know, I could slip up a little. I go off on some tangents. But when you got 20 minutes, you better make every second count. And there's something about that. You know, like last night I was doing this speech in Aspen. I was in Aspen Men's Conference. I had 5 minutes. Like, you know, 5 minutes is tough. Hour and 15 is easy. So I got 20 minutes. I'm like, I had to make every minute count. And something you to think about is like, when you get those interviews, you get those opportunities, you know, take advantage. You don't know how long that person interviewing you has, which we're going to talk a little bit about in this conversation. So anyway, I get to Notre Dame, and my goal in the whole conversation is got to get him up to my office. And then, 6 months later, we got Notre Dame Steiner, which opened up a tremendous amount of opportunities and doors for us. I think it's really important. I know really the ultimate goal for all of you is to get a job. I think it's really important that you don't waste people's time. I guarantee you tonight, I'm not going to waste any of your time. And I think it's important that when you get those interviews and you go in for those internships, and regardless of how much they're paying you, whatever you're doing, don't waste people's time. And I think it's important that when you call on people, well, I'm going to give you my first little secret. Nobody really cares what the hell you, nobody really cares about you. I mean, I call on people every day, and I'm really good at finding work. After 52 years, I've been finding work for 42, looking for jobs since I'm 10. And one of my things is that I think one of my MOs is really it's about if you're going to call somebody up, I mean, don't call them up because you're looking for a job, because you need employment, because you need help, or you need this and that. In today's world, that's going to go on a little tangent here before I get rolling, which is in today's world, where you can do so much research, you can find out so much about somebody. Between LinkedIn, Facebook, going on someone's website, Googling them, you can know everything there is about a person, kids, wives, where they grow up, charities, diseases, when their mom passed away, still alive, everything there is. Why not call somebody up with something that matters to them? And I think, when you get into business, when you get an opportunity to go on an interview, communicating with people with information that matters to them. Forget about you. The more you're interested in helping other people and getting into what they want to talk about, the faster you're going to see things roll and things are going to start coming to you. And I think it's really important in business, and a lot of people mainly call me up with what they need or what they want or what they want to sell, what they want to do. And I really don't care. So sometimes that works, but most of the time it doesn't. But when people call me up with stuff that matters to me, so let me give you an example. I'm raising money for a girls' home. Kids are underprivileged, parents have left them, they can't take care of their kids. So it's out there, and if you Google me, you'd see 50 different things about this girls' home that I'm raising the money for. So if you're smart and you're trying to do some business with me, you call me up and say, I'm trying to sell you this water, I'm trying to sell you this book, I got computer bags, whatever else. But how nice would it be if you sent me an email and say, Brandon, I see that there's this company that are giving money people that are actually redoing homes. I stumbled upon this article, there's this organization that actually donates equipment, donates furniture. I thought this would be of interest to you, so you may want to check it out. I see this company in Westchester that's doing internships for kids in situations like the home that you manage and all that, taking a look at it. You may want to look at this article and connect with them. As a matter of fact, I know somebody in this organization actually that fundraises for them. Maybe I can put the two of you together. Now that's a good way to start a business relationship. But time and time again, and I wish a lot of you could come and sit in my office, and the people that call me day in and day out with what they got to sell, what they need, and what they got to do. Now let's roll forward to you guys. You're coming out of college, there's huge unemployment, you got to separate yourself from multiple. You got to separate yourself. And the way to do that is to use with this most valuable tool called 99% and 100%. This is another thing that drives me crazy. I asked this girl, I was up in Syracuse about 2 months ago, I said, you're working all summer. I've noticed you're working like crazy. Good for you. How hard are you working? Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard are you working? A 7. 7. What happened to the other 30%? So, I know you're in school, and here's the thing that I run away from when people tell me to do the best they can. I run away. Either you got it or you don't have it. The difference between 99%, a lot of people put 99% effort and 100% is 100%. So either you're in, I have an expression, all in. I'm an all-in guy. There's no 98, 99%. It's like 211 degrees. 211 degrees give you boiling water? Gives you some steam. Doesn't give you boiling water. 211 degrees doesn't get you anywhere. 212, 1 degree is everything. The difference between 99% and 100% is 100%. You're out. When you think about the things you engage in, my one message to you is like, either you're in and all in, or get out and go get all in on something else. And I just kind of want to inspire you about that one thing, because a lot of you go into internships, and it's like, hey, you get your first job, internships, if you're all in, don't worry about the job you have, worry about the job you want. And when you're all in, and you're at 212 degrees, and you're at 100% all in, good things are going to happen. So when you work hard and you put everything out there, it's a little bit of a risk. And you come up with all the reasons why, you know, whether it's a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever relationship you're in, and you're like, you know, I'm not sure, maybe this is not the one, maybe this is not the perfect job. I mean, I had 5 jobs before I found the one that I love, but I was always all in. I was in the dish room, I was all in. I was always all in. And I use another example of, most people say, Brandon, how do I get your success? I want to have your success. And really, what I'm hoping that some people walk up to me and say, how can I replicate your process? How can I replicate what happened over the last 30 years? How can I do the things you did over the last 30 years? But most people want, like, how can I get your big house? And how can I become a millionaire? And how can I have a big company that manages over a lot of people? That's a bad direction to go. It's like, the better question is, how can you get to 100% all in? What does it take? What is the push? And it's kind of like the fire, you got this fire and everybody wants to know, how do you get the fire? How do I get this fire? Everybody wants to know, how do you go get the logs? How do you get the birch? How do you get the leaves that you put in the fire? I mean, that's where your interest level needs to go. Especially at this point in your careers, is to get submerged in process, and get good work habits, and getting into this all-in habit. People come to Steiner because they know that I'm going to be all in, I'm going to tell them the truth, I'm going to do everything I can to help them. And even if it's not in my best interest, I'll turn away the business, I'll send the business elsewhere. One of my biggest things that I've done, even in the media, I know I wasn't a big name 15, 20 years ago, the media would call me, I'd hook them up with this person, because I knew this person, I knew this guy running that team, I'd say, you're on the wrong direction on this story, let me get a player to interview. And every time something would come up, that brand would come right back. Well, you know what? One story leads to another. And if most of you follow Steiner, you know I never spent more than $100,000 in advertising, public relations, and promotion, only up until about 4 years ago, in one particular year, which is insane. To build a multi-million-dollar business with less than $100,000 a year. I did it all through PR, all through self-promotion. And that's just all through networking and making sure that I was trying to help out writers, helping people out, co-promoting, co-branding. Let's talk about change. Now, I always talk about entrepreneurism, and this is kind of more of a business conversation, but one of the complicated things about today in business, what makes things so hard, is that not only is change happening, it is happening at a record pace. It is happening so quick and so fast that, I don't know, every time you pick up your head, you feel like you're 10 steps behind. So I just want to give you a little perspective on change. I mean, 3 trillion text messages. And yet there are people in this country that don't text. And we're still fighting our way, to do text mailings. It's requiring enough information to do that. So it's kind of just some different information. It's important you understand that learn how to speak the language. And this is what's always confusing to me is when you're at home, you need that kind of thinking. But I made a fortune on some of these, used cars or pre-owned automobiles. Sometimes just the way the verbiage you use in describing your company can change everything. We used to have used car dealerships. Kind of the lowest end of the world if you sold used cars. Now they're pre-owned automobiles. We have this 20-point blah, 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 blah. I don't know what that even means, but it's pretty cool to buy a used car now. I don't know. It wasn't cool when I was a kid. It's like you didn't have enough money for a used car. Old, vintage. Lord knows. I made a fortune off that coin. Manicurist, nail technician, car seat, travel system. So sometimes it's not really coming up with the idea, but it's how you coin the phrase and how you communicate it in a more affluent way. I got to scroll down here, which always gets me, like field greens. Like, explain to me, like when I was a kid, you had iceberg lettuce or iceberg lettuce. Then all of a sudden they came up with red leaf, arugula, and about 50 times the lettuce. And it had to be a farmer who was hitting a bad spurt. He said, I'm going to go plant a bunch of different kinds of lettuce, call them some names, and then mix those all together, and then I can charge you 3 times as much for a salad. But it's got to be the same amount of work to grow arugula as it is to grow iceberg. But yet, they throw all those fancy names in there, and then before you know, you're paying $15 per salad. Unbelievable. Pet guardian. I mean, if you're on like a whole pet thing, pets have become such a big deal. Like, have you seen a pet store go out of business? They're like the size of Home Depots. It's unbelievable. My dog has a dermatologist, a manicurist, and time is time, and your pet is your private possession. So going to take your dog and leaving it at the barbershop isn't cool, because you don't want to leave your dog out of your eyesight. So now they got the truck. Somebody came up with an idea to actually come up with like a minivan where the dog comes marching out of the house, goes right in the bus, right in front of your house. Hence, I don't have to drive, leave, come back, gets the shampoo, the whole thing, clips the nails, bam. And then that's thinking. That's looking ahead. What else? What's missing? Why should I spend the whole day worrying about my dog getting a haircut? And now what? My dog gets a haircut and shampoo like once a month. We'll talk about the dog spas and all that other insanity in a minute. But text messages change the way we communicate. You got to be able to. I know a lot of you know what that says, right? Right? But you got to know the text lingo. You got to be able to activate. Some of the keywords. And I can't believe how many times I go give this speech and I got to go over how you text. You can't just be writing a sentence. My kid doesn't respond. Well, maybe you should start communicating the right way. You can't just be writing a 3-paragraph text. You got to use the abbreviations. This is important. And you may be selling something that has nothing to do with texting, but how you communicate with your customers, especially if you're communicating with, say, with younger people, and you start spelling out you, Y-O-U, and that kind of stuff, like that's just not going to fly. That's square. Well, first of all, 40 is really 30, according to Jay-Z, my buddy who sitting next to the Yankee names. He reiterates that. And I believe everything he tells me. So I'm thinking the baby boomers are now, in 2 years, going to become seniors. So there'll be more seniors in this country than ever before, living longer than ever before. Matter of fact, maybe 15 years longer than ever before. My question is, these people are more active, they definitely have more money, they have better financial plan than we ever did, and live longer than ever expected to, and more active. How the hell can we make some money off those people? There's really not a lot of things in place, but you see a lot of these special homes for elderly building up, and they're not old age homes, because that phrase is coined and it's out. Nobody wants to put their parents in an old age home, but now they have assisted living. It's dummied down, but it's fancy. Nobody wants to take their, you see what old age homes used to be like, oh my God. It's one step away from the funeral parlor. Now it's golf course, this, got that. It's like taking your parents, dropping them off at a hotel resort. It's all how you position it, but think about what's going to happen over the next 10, 15 years. More baby boomers as seniors, healthier than ever before, and you can't treat those people like you did treat older people, seniors you did 10 or 15 years ago. A whole transition of how we deal with older people. Interesting. Top 10 jobs in after 2010 didn't exist in 2004. See, when I was a kid, you grew up, you were going to be an accountant, a lawyer, you went to go work for Xerox, maybe Pepsi, you were all good, you had your whole life. Now, you've seen so many companies come and go. I don't know if you're waking up in the morning and saying, wow, I just hope one day I can work for one company my whole life, get my pension, it's going to be great. It's just not the mindset now. But the question is, what is the mindset? It's confusion. At least it has been for me. I can't speak for this class, but for the last 6 or 8 years, the kids that I get are just completely confused. They really don't know what to expect. They're not really sure what the hot thing is. It was kind of the whole web boom. Then it was kind of investment banking. That was boom. Then the whole banking thing, that's boom. Everything on one level or another in the last 10, 12 years has blown up. And there is no easy channel, easy path. So it's confusing for you, and you're going to have to find your way. And when I go back to what I was saying at the beginning, it's so important for you to lock in and be that 100% person. Because when you do good work, people notice, and that cream will rise to the top. You can't necessarily count on one company to take you the distance when you get out of this wonderful institution. So when you think about this, and this middle point is a very scary point, 385 of the top 500 companies haven't started yet. So that's a completely different contrast to 15 or 20 years ago, when it was very clear who the top companies were. You know, Chevrolet, Pepsi, Coke, IBM. That 2/3 of them haven't even been thought of. That's how fast things are changing. And that's how much you got to stay on top of it to make sure you get on the right track with the right company, get the right mentors, especially in your early stages, because you never know. You could be in one of those companies that could be in that S&P that just got started and you get out of school and cement you have a job. I think you got to take everything seriously. On changes, you can see that you have to embrace the changes. You have to really understand them, even if they have nothing to do with it. You have to embrace them. I just remember asking a cab driver, you know, would you take my credit card? The cab's going to kill me. Like now, it's like everyone would take them. Somebody figured out how to put those machines in, at the same time advertise 50 other products in the cab. And pretty much anywhere you go, you can use your credit card for gas. Somebody thought of that idea, thought that would be a good idea, because a lot of people think they have to write it off, you're going to have the receipt, blah, 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 blah. So it's always what else, what's next, first to market. If you can get there first, you know, it's a huge advantage. And don't be afraid to go there. You know, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, there's a lot of risk involved. You're jumping off that cliff. How am I going to land? How am I going to get on my feet? But now's the time to start, you know, 100% all in. You know, whatever it is, don't let your passion get in the way of common sense, what your parents think or friends think. You know, when you have an entrepreneurial spirit, you know, you got to get convicted, you get on your horse and you go. And you use your leadership skills to sell all the people around you as best you can. You should never know how much of a help they can be down the road. I think it's really, really important that when you find something you love, you'd be surprised. Besides, work will be easy going from there, but you'd be surprised how you can make money. And I'm having this tremendous conversation with myself. I do believe in daydreaming. I think you should. I talk to myself all the time. It's a phenomenal conversation, and you know, it's important to play things out. You know, I'm a big pictualization, which is really the point. Don't be afraid to do that. You know, don't be afraid. You know, because everybody's so active. Don't be afraid to sit down and just think and picture things. You know, the way you want to picture them, which is really the point. I have picturized more insane things, including Yankee Steiner, way before Yankee Steiner happened. Signing Derek Jeter with his first big contract, which is, you know, everybody's like, you're crazy. It was a $5.5 million contract. I can't believe this. But I pictured that, I dreamt it, and I thought about all these different things. I think, wow, and I figured if I spent that much, we'd have a press conference. So, you know, that was nice, that press conference, first press conference, that kind of thing. And, you know, those are all things you just dream up of. You know, dreaming is free. That's it. You go to the movies, you got to pay. Dreaming and talking to yourself, well, that's free. And you got to make sure you incorporate that into your daily routine. Really, really, really important. Moves me to my first 90 seconds. The first 90 seconds in your day is critical. It's everything. I always have an expression, it's not easy, it's not possible. I'm the kind of guy, you know, I talked about the all-in, you know, 211 degrees, gives you steam. You're between 99% and 100% is 100%. But the first 90 seconds is huge. Now, I wake up in the morning, before I go look at my wife, make sure she's okay, think about what my kids are going to be doing, and all the other stuff I got to do, and to get support my day. The first 90 seconds is everything, and it's got to be positive. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten out of bed, like, oh God, I got to go speak to these kids at Vanderbilt, they got to come home from me, and then I got to get back in bed. No, that's no. Wow, I get to go to that beautiful school, going to see some kids I know from Scarsdale, give me enlightening, get some positive energy. Okay, now we're on track. I guarantee you that when you think about your 90 seconds, I'm going to ask you to think about me tomorrow morning when you wake up. And I like you to think about me just for a few days when you wake up in the morning. I want you to think about the first 90 seconds when you think about it. And if it isn't easy, it isn't possible. You spent 24 hours on this earth. I'm figuring probably about 17 hours. You're probably sleeping about 7. So you got 17 hours. What happens is you got one little thing that happens in your day. Maybe it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Brings you out of 16 hours and 55 minutes. And you got to break it down. It's getting to class on time. Sometimes it's, it's a problem you have with a friend. Maybe you got to fire a friend. But you got to think about that one negative thing that's happening in your day. You got to figure out how to remove it. Or you got to figure out how to simplify it and make it better. And it starts with the first 90 seconds of your day. So the first 90 seconds of your day has to be incredibly positive. It's got to be organized, and it's got to be uplifting. You need to basically go get that all in. I'm all in today. I'm 100% in, I'm gonna kick some ass. I got that test, I know it's a class I don't love, and it's something, I'm gonna take about 20 more minutes to prepare for that class I don't like, to compensate for the fact I don't like it, maybe I can understand it better, whatever it is. Because if it isn't easy, it's not possible. You gotta think about that one thing that's maybe bugging you, it's a little negative in your day, get it worked out in the first 90 seconds. Because that's the thing that's gonna pop up right in the morning when you wake up. That one negative thing, out of 17 hours when you're awake, is gonna get up in your hair, gonna get in your brain in that first 90 seconds, and then you're gonna have a mediocre day. Listen, we're all here on a visa. Life is short, so you don't want to be wasting days because of one or two small little things that are in your craw over the course of a few days. So get the first 90 seconds worked out. Think of me a little bit when you wake up tomorrow morning. You probably don't recognize what you're thinking about the first 90 seconds, but now you are. And I'm going to tell you, when you get that 90 seconds, you'll be so much more productive in your day. You're going to think about change, think about the 99%. But I was talking about before size. Well, size matters. Size doesn't matter. Everybody's looking for that big idea. I know all of you are thinking. Probably thinking about, whether you're going to get a giant beer or a small beer. You're thinking whether you want to get a giant Subway footlong or a small footlong. And I guess that size particularly doesn't matter. But the size of your idea does not matter. What's important is that you believe in that idea, and I've seen some of the smallest ideas turn into some of the biggest ideas imaginable. A lot of people get caught up in having this big company, having this big idea, but it really is about coming up with something that makes sense, and sometimes with pinpoint accuracy, sometimes with accuracy. You could be an assassin. A lot of people didn't see me coming. Me, a high school intern, I couldn't afford a college intern, a high school intern. Didn't see me coming. You don't have to have the biggest company. You don't have to work for the biggest company. What you need to do is work in a smart, efficient way, and work for people that, as much as they're interviewing you, whoever you work for in the next 4 or 5 years, which will be critical years, because post-college is really just like college. You go to work for a company, but in essence, that's who's going to end up making up a big part of your fabric of what kind of business person you are. And I always say this, when you have kids, the first 5 years those kids are born is huge, because they're just taking in, and you're developing them to be the kind of people you want them to be. I always laugh at parents that try to all of a sudden take control of their kids when they're 13 or 14. These kids are done, they're gone. Well, it's not done yet, dude. They're done. You can talk to them, but they may listen once in a while. But generally, they were listening when they were 2 or 3. Then they were like, they didn't stop listening. They took it all. And it's the same thing in business. Like when you talk about your business embryo, like your business, the first few years out of college, you guys are sponges. You're back to that level where the right way to do business, the right things. It's critical that you don't get caught up in the big company, the big money, and you go learn from really good people that are authentic, that have high levels of integrity, that are going to teach you the right way to make money and the right way to do things. That's critical in business. Most people don't talk about it, they just want to talk about the name of the company, the size, how much money you're making. But trust me, over the course of time, when you do good work and you work really hard, people notice. And you'll make a lot of money over the course of time when you have your heart and you're 100% all in. And you understand the job that's at hand. But the nucleus of that happening, getting back to the wood and the fire, don't get caught up in the fire. Get caught up in the wood, get caught up in the birch, get caught up in the leaves, get caught up in how you're going to make that fire. And you're going to make that fire, you okay with it? You're going to get caught up in that fire. I get a little choked up about all this stuff too. You get caught up in the fire and you end up, it's a short story and it's not the great story. You get caught up in the wood, you get caught up how you're going to get the best wood. It's the same thing what you need to do when you're getting out of school, it's the same thing. And sometimes you got to make sure that you got to be diligent in your approach to your parents. They've made a big investment, or your friends, and there's always people you have to answer to. But at the end of the day, you want to do what's going to make you happy. Don't buy the book. Certainly don't need the charity or anything, trust me. But if you're going to buy it, don't read this book. Study it. This gives you the blueprint. I wrote this book, I'm about to do my second book in February, but I wrote this book because when I got out of school, I think I applied for 200 and something jobs, and I got 200 and something rejection letters. I was going to save them all, but I have all the rejection letters when I started Steiner, and I wrote all these letters to all these athletes. I kept every rejection letter in bubble. But I always say, not enough people explain to me how the hell this all works, and this is all stuff you can put into play. That's what I love about this book. It's not, you're going to fill out all these surveys and all these exhibits and all this stuff. A lot of business. This is stuff you can put into play. Real simple stuff to get yourself going. You go from A to B. So it's a great book like this. But in the back of this book, or if you want, you can Facebook me or email me at bsteiner@steinersports.com. I answer all my own emails. I get about 300 a day. I was talking to you earlier. But I answer them all at one point or another, within usually a day. And you have a question or something on your mind about maybe something you're trying to figure out, decision, business move, run it by me, Facebook me, or email me. I'm always glad to respond. Not a problem. So much opportunity. There's no shortage for all of you. So, I wish you all lots of success, and hopefully the business club is just one step along the way in many of your business careers. Thank you.